Morning all. Okay, I thought I'd show you a classic Blitz game carrying on the Herceg Novi Blitz of 1970, and it's quite a fascinating finding, this one. I don't think anyone on YouTube has done it. I've done a quick search for Fischer versus Hort, as you do. No one's done it. It's a bit dry, this game, and maybe why when Fischer experimented he liked 1 e4, because you'll see in this game 1 d4 from Fischer against Vlastimil Hort. Now Hort, here's some information from Wiki. He was a chess grandmaster of Czech nationality. During the 60s and 70s he was one of the world's strongest players and reached the candidate stage of the competition for the World Chess Championship, but was never able to compete for the actual title. Okay, so he won his national championship in 1971, 71, 2, 5, 77. Achieved GM title in 1965, so this is 5 years before this game. He won a number of major tournaments: Hastings 1967 to 68, Skopje 1969, gaining recognition as one of the strongest non-Soviet players in the world. So he was representing the world team in the 1970 USSR versus rest of the world match, and he was playing on the fourth board against Bxd6 and he got +1. So he's one of the best non-USSR players at the time. And he's playing in this game. We see a reason why a lot of players today don't play d4, because of that dreaded Slav Defence, which can be quite dull, which is played here instead of an interesting move. I'm just joking, sorry. c6 was played, which is the Slav. It's rock solid. And after knight c3 we see d5. Now Fischer's not very interesting himself in this game, I have to say, making this actually possibly one of Fischer's least memorable games he ever played, especially in Blitz. What he did was actually c takes d5. Now I don't know about you, but this reminds me of, for some reason, Jack Nicholson's whoever flew over the guy that flew over the cuckoo's nest, where he lost his personality and he started to just be, he just lost everything. So Fischer's like losing his personality in this game with this exchange French. Maybe that's a bit exchange Slav. That's a bit radical, but it looks as though this is everything I hate about chess already in this position. Symmetrical pawn structure, the Slav, which I hate. Okay, so bishop f4, e6. So we have a personality less position here. Knight c6. Bishop b5. Okay, there are some differences though. No, let's be fair. There are some differences in position. Black couldn't go for the symmetrical bishop f5, so that's a bit of excitement that this bishop's locked in and this bishop's out. So we have this position here. Okay, there are some major differences. So is that going to be an issue later? Can White, by taking here, is White going to use that c file and c5 or e5? This bishop's poking into the queen side. Okay, sometimes, when Fischer played d4 or varied from e4, he didn't really get good results. I think he actually played Bxd6, mentioning Bxd6 earlier. I think he drew a Bxd6 a very quick d4 game. But remember, this is just Blitz. Okay, bishop d6. And again, the position doesn't seem to be having much personality. It's a bit dry. And this move looks weakening, actually, this next move. f4, but we've seen a similar sort of thing in the recent World Championship in 2012 this year, where it was nearly a win for White against Anand. Boris Gelfand playing like this, and he locked in that bishop, if you remember. So this f4 binds on the dark square. Okay, what's the downside? Black plays bishop d7. After knight f3 we see the pesky knight e4. So why is the knight going there? Well, it's not giving White time to contest d4 to stop that move, so Black makes use of it now. But is the double pawns of any significance here? If Fischer ignores it, is he going to be worse? If taking on c3, that would isolate his a pawn, and he wouldn't be able to use the c file as much if he's got a pawn on c3. And he doesn't really seem keen to protect it with rook c1. Maybe that doesn't help either much. He actually just takes it. He doubles Black's pawns. After knight d2 we see queen b4. Okay, Fischer plays queen b3, and again here the position looks a bit livelier in terms of pawn structure, to be fair now. That Black's got these double pawns. What's going on here? Is White a little bit better? The knight's pinned at the moment, otherwise knight c4 would have been good. Okay, and white can't castle kingside because of queen takes d2, of course. So white plays this move, offering the exchange with queens. So now we really are getting a fast end game as well. And it's games like this, I think, why bother playing? Why do both sides bother playing? And it's made even worse. Sometimes you'd have a one-day game with the exchange Slav. Imagine that, with a fast draw. What's the point in playing? No, really. But this is just a blitz game. Queen takes a4, bishop takes a4. Now black's got knight b4. He's actually making use of that pawn. He's threatening knight d3, taking that pawn. So he's offering that. And also, of course, he's attacking the bishop. That's another question which has to be addressed. So takes. Now king e2. Okay. Now we see f5, and black seems to be fine here. There doesn't seem to be any major issue apart from maybe a knight plonking itself on e5. Engine view, it looks so dry. I wonder about even turning on an engine here. It's as dry as a bone, this position. But it's fascinating. I think it's so dull that this game's interesting. That Fischer could play like this or have this position as white. So knight c4. Okay, rook hc1. Check. So the knights get exchanged off. We have an interesting, nope, not very interesting, rook ending with the symmetrical pawn structure, which makes it easy to exchange rooks. Because if both sides are showing also the same line, just use that line to exchange off all the rooks as well to further simplify. And is this king and pawn ending winning for anyone? Not really, as we're about to see. I know. You think, why have I picked this game? Out of completeness, because we were looking at other games from Herceg Novi Blitz. Now the lockdown of the pawns. Okay, h4, yep. There's no way for white to get through. There's no way for black to get through. So here, a draw. Yes, the least memorable game possibly ever you will see Fischer play. Let's have a look at that again. So the exchange Slav, without any personality, position as dry as a bone. Bishop f5 avoided. I think that's like some sort of trap because you've got potentially pressure on d5 and b7. Let's just it's absolutely well-known theory, but let's just engine check what an engine thinks of bishop f5. Queen b3. Knight c6. This might be one of those weird gambits we sort of looked at briefly. No, knight takes d4 here is no good because of casting queenside. This is interesting, with a big advantage to white. So this is bad news, I think, for black, this position. Anyway, so that's why it's often dangerous to play bishop f5. Still the queen b3 stuff. Okay. So the bishop, I think this is the move, e6, and black managed to equalise. He got rid of the dark square bishops. White did go for weakening himself a little bit on the light squares. Knight e4 was made use of while it could be. So black going for the dynamic, inverted commas, double pawns, which help black peg a knight into d3, which will be a right pain. So the point here of knight e4, knight d3, the knight's going to be okay, but I wonder about b7 actually. I'm sorry, we should just quickly check this out. Is knight e4 a move? No, knight c2 check, of course, winning the exchange. Silly me, sorry. Bishop's not here. Okay, so king e2, and if casting just f5 and black is actually better, is actually from an engine point of view doing very well. So king e2, and it's just a super dry game, really. And unfortunately, we see Slav games like this a bit today. Comments or questions on YouTube? Thanks very much.